Development and Services Committee is now called to order. Attorney Wright, are you okay for us to get started? Cool. All right. So the meeting is now called to order. Can we have the roll taken for
recording in progress?
Hugh?
Here.
Teresia?
Here.
Barron?
Here.
English?
Present.
Newton?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. That brings us to item 2, approval of our minutes. 2A are the minutes from December 16th, 2021. Those are on pages 7 through 11 of our packet this evening. Is there a motion in regards to the minutes?
So move, Madam Chair.
Second, Barron.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes?
I think there's one. Ms. Newton, will you help me find that, please?
There's just a small Scrivener's error on the top of page 11. It says Miss English says something said in tone. It's just missing an S.
Thank you.
With that one minor change, are there any further corrections, additions, deletions? Okay. Hearing none, will you call the roll for approval of the minutes?
Hugh?
Yes.
Teresia?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 3, the adoption of our agenda. Is there a motion regarding the agenda? Yes. Is there
Madam Chair, just a statement. Since 5C is actually a legal action, if there's any legal questions that you have, it has to go into executive session. If you just have some general questions of staff or something, that not necessarily, but just to let you know that if you want any legal advice regarding it, it would have to go into executive session.
Okay, thank you. Any other additions, deletions, improvements to the agenda?
Move to approve. Newton. Second, Barron.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Can we call the roll for the adoption of the agenda?
Hugh?
Yes.
Teresia?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4, the election of the chair. I'll recognize myself and nominate Mr. Pugh for chair.
Second. Oh, let's sing it. Everybody?
Been moved and properly seconded. Anybody else want to get in on that second? Okay. Will you call the roll for the election of the chair?
Yes.
Hugh?
Yes.
Teresia?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Fantastic. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to take over from item 5?
Absolutely, ma'am. First of all, I would like to say thank you to my colleagues for believing in me enough to allow me to lead them with the Developmental Services Committee. And I look forward to us having a prosperous and productive year. Items for action. 5A, out of the County Attorney's Office, easement and access agreement between East Richland County Public Services District and Richland County affecting the Cooper Branch location of the library, the public library. That information is found on pages 12 through 28.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
move to approve. Second.
Action has been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is that on page 13 of our agenda, the opening line says that council is requested to pass an ordinance to approve the grant of an easement agreement. And then when you go down to the next paragraph where it starts, in addition to the easement, the library also requested the county approve an access license agreement. Could somebody explain to me I guess, what the difference is and why we need both. If we're granting an easement, I don't know what an access license agreement is.
Well, the access license agreement was basically a contract with the other party. The ordinance is the ordinance that gives us the ability to do it. So the access agreement is related to the ordinance.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote?
Pugh,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item 5B, out of the County Attorney's Office, purchase of the Edgewoods Library Branch property, 2101-13 Oak Street. That information can be found on pages 29 through 49.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move to approve this item.
Second.
And properly moved and properly second. Discussion? If not, Madam, I'm sorry, Mr. Maldonado.
Yeah, we need discussion. I don't want you out of this committee meeting too soon. Attorney Wright, page 31 of our agenda. And I could have asked you this otherwise outside of here, but under the where it says witnesseth in the second paragraph, why are the words subject to capitalized? And it's repeated again in the first line of the next paragraph. I didn't know if that had some special meaning.
I don't think it does. I think it doesn't have to be, but it doesn't matter that it is, to be honest.
And the last thing I had a question on was page 34, this affidavit. When you go down to the last line of number 3, it says, if exempt, skip items 4 through 7 and go to item 8. When you go to item 8, it's left blank. Is that something that's supposed to be filled in by us now?
I think that should be filled in to whoever signs the document when it's signed.
I didn't know if it made city or something.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote, please?
Derek Pugh,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item 5C, as we heard before from the county attorney, if there's any questions pending with any legal matters, this may have to go into an executive session. Road closure petition from Point Grant Columbia LLC versus South Carolina DOT, RC DPX Holdings LLC, 2020-40-06246 to close research court for the Richland County currently provides, to close research court, which Richland County currently provides maintenance. That information can be found on pages 50 through 69. Motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Item has been moved to approve and properly second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
They're not legal, they're, I guess, procedural. I don't see any staff members here, so maybe we can get these by the time we get it back to the council. And that is on page 50. Somebody mentions the fact under additional fiscal budgetary matters to consider, it says that removing roads from the county books decreases maintenance spending. I'd like to know what kind of cost we're talking about. Probably little to nothing here. And I'd also like to know how much in taxes would be added to the county rolls by removing this from county to private. And then on page 51, the last paragraph says research court in District 7 is a cul-de-sac with 2 other abutting property owners, both of whom, according to the plaintiff in the petition, have consented to the closure, as well as SCDOT. The only thing we have in our packet were letters that were sent out to DOT and to the property owners. We don't have any response back from any of those individuals, and I think before we move forward on this, we should have responses so we know for sure that these individuals did approve or have no objection to the closing of this road, rather than do it and then find out we're in some legal suit because we didn't get all the answers ahead of time. That's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, could you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. As we move to item 6, we have 4 items that does not require any action but pending analysis. 6A, move to direct staff to evaluate current zoning laws that permit zoning designations for large residential developments that remain in perpetuity and present options to reevaluate and or rezone these properties if they are not developed within 7 years. Recommendations should include processes to ensure that zoning and comprehensive plan remains consistent with the lived character of the community. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've had discussions about this, and staff is making recommendations and codifying this. I guess my question is, and I don't know the answer either way, is this something that needs to remain on our agenda, or is this something that would come off of our agenda with staff bringing us the information back as part of the comprehensive planning process?
So staff's recommendations for this specific item, it says staff has discussed with council that there will be a current measure in place, such as section 6-29 510E of the state code of law, which requires a 5-year reevaluation and a 10-year update of a comprehensive plan. It was proposed that staff would include for the reevaluation and update specific information regarding the rezoning and development that has taken place during the reviewing period. This will allow council to determine the amendments that should be made to the comprehensive plan.
Yes, and I'm comfortable with that. I just, given that it's a process that they're going to be working on, I just wasn't sure if that was something that needed to stay here on our agenda or not. But that, I don't know if staff has an opinion or other council members. We can certainly, talk about it later.
Mr. Price, you recognize.
Okay. GNR Price, CP&D. Thank you, Councilwoman. We have discussed this, and I believe the intent is for us to create those measures,
okay,
and we will incorporate those as part of our comprehensive plan when that plan, when we begin the update of that plan, which it will be coming shortly. We're still working on that right now, so we will incorporate it at that time. If you would like, you could go ahead and table this matter right now, and we'll address it when we bring forth the update of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Question?
And with that in mind, I think I'll leave that item here for now. I think I have a few more questions, and then, but I do think it might be something that can come off of our agenda to be addressed someplace else. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anyone else? Let's move to item 6B. I move to direct the county attorney to work with the county administrator to research and draft an absentee landlord ordinance. The ordinance should provide potential remedies for individuals who violate the county ordinances provided via supplementary documentation. I'm sorry, and a comprehensive review of the legal impact associated with adopting such ordinance. Staff continues to work in efforts related to this matter. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I don't know if there's a staff person here that can address this. The last time that we talked about this, I think that the goal was that staff would bring something before the committee this month. And so I appreciate very much how hard they've been working on this. I just wonder if there's an update on when that information might come before us.
Yes, ma'am. Gilnar Price, CP&D. We are actually, and I apologize for having it for us not having it before you today, but we are working as a group right now, putting together the information that's requested, and looking all of the different avenues for creating an ordinance to address this issue. And we expect to have it to you next month at the next D&S committee.
Thank you, Mr. Price. And let me just say that having met with that cross-functional team across the county, when I made this motion, I really didn't, it seemed like something that was much more straightforward, I guess, than it is turning out to be. So thank you for all that. And then, Mr. Chair, it's just a point of personal privilege. I would like to note that I did not make the following two motions, so you're done with motions from me.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, let's look at 6B.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if now is the time to ask this, but could I add my name to 6B for that motion? And then I just also wanted to speak to the motion as well that, you know, we have, I went to a neighborhood meeting last night where folks were just really begging for something to do when there are these really nuisance parties, trash, behaviors going on. So just wanted to let y'all know that I'm still very interested in this.
Councilwoman Barron?
I wanted to just ask, I guess from a legal standpoint, should we, once we get the feedback from staff and we decide to move forward with some type of ordinance in place, and this, I guess this is probably a rookie question, but what is the process from there that we're looking at to getting this done? Because like Ms. Terracio, I sure would like to see us move sooner than later on this, and considering it's been in this committee since November of 2019, it is a pressing issue and is very important. So I just want to see how quickly we can move this item to council.
Right. Once there is actually an ordinance that this committee reviews and approves, the committee just forwards it to the full council for the full council to approve and go through the three readings to make it law, basically.
If I may, Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
So as a follow-up, Mr. Price, what your team is putting together, is it just basic information, or are you all crafting something that we can submit to Attorney Wright to be able to move forward with an ordinance?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is create a kind of a unified ordinance, because there are pieces that I think have been pointed out by various council members that they would really like for us to look at, that I think individual agencies or departments or divisions of the county can address. One of the things that we're really looking at is also from an enforcement standpoint, trying to come up with something with, I guess, some teeth in it. And also, we can come up with a lot of language, but I think it's important that we have practical language and enforcement measures in place. That is what we're really working on. And I think once we get that, as Mr. Wright stated, we will then bring that for you and get it going back to council.
So that's what you'll bring to us next month?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman English?
I would like to add my name to the board as well. Thank you.
That it? Any more discussion? All right, let's move to 6C. I move to have staff amend section 25-186, development with open space design standards of the Land Development Code by amending the formula using in determining the total number of units allowed in the utilization of a density base and a density bonus design standard by subtracting the constrained open space area acreage from the total site acreage prior to calculating. In addition, all lots must conform to the DHEC minimum requirement size, so no bonus allowed that lot size to be less than the DHEC requirement. And staff's response is, prior to June 30th, 2022, staff will draft a proposed language to present to the Planning Commission and the Developmental Services Commission for consideration. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quick question. So what it says here is that it's going to go both to the Planning Commission and to us. From a sequencing perspective, is that simultaneous, or does it come to one before the other, for my information?
It should come to council first, for council to send this to the Planning Commission for us to work on.
Okay, so then in sequence, it would come to this committee first. We would route it through our regular council process, and then it would go to the Planning Commission?
Yes, ma'am. As in, it will be an amendment to the Land Development Code. Any changes that we make will need to go to the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Tracy.
Did the maker of the motion leave us?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Okay. Would you?
Although Mr. Price can also speak to it as well.
Could you just help explain in layman's terms what we're trying to get done here?
Yes. I guess I'll speak for the maker. We've had a number of discussions. I believe what it comes down to is when during the application of the open space standards to developments, essentially, you reserve a certain amount of land. If you get up to 25%, that allows you to do a reduction of the lot sizes from that particular district requires. So, for example, if you are RSLD and it's a 12,000 square foot lot, you give that 25% open space, you can reduce it to maybe 5,000. Also, in certain points, you can actually get a density bonus with that. I believe what Councilman Malinowski's concern was that part of the open space that you can provide to get that bonus, a lot of times is land that's not usable. So it could be land encumbered by topography, wetlands, flood zone land that you probably couldn't use before. And one of the main points is not to allow that to be used to determine what your overall yield would be from your development.
Okay, follow up. And so the overall function would be to reduce density.
Yes.
Potential. Okay.
Yes. Basically, your calculations will be based on what you can actually use as opposed to the gross acreage of the parcel.
I think I got it. I'm going to probably have some questions and some conversations, but thank you for getting me started.
So.
Recognize.
So theoretically, if I had a property that was 10,000 acres and 5,000 acres was a swamp, I was never going to build anything on that 5,000 acres. It was never going to be used. Currently, I can count that 5,000 acres as green space that I'm setting aside and get a density. And so I think that the intent of this is to say that only the land that is actually usable that you set aside counts as a set aside. Now, there are many property owners who would disagree with this, but to me, it's not like you're ever going to build a house on that swamp property, but you're getting credit as if you've conserved it when it was going to be naturally conserved, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, great. I think I know where to go from here. Okay, thank you.
For discussion? All right, 6D is amending the fireworks ordinance. That ordinance was put in by me. This is near and dear to my heart with us being a military town. I think it's important that we need to take care of our veterans. And basically what this ordinance is stating that we need to add a little more teeth to our ordinances so that people will be able to be held accountable for them not staying within the guidelines of what the ordinance currently says. And I think, again, I want to echo this loud and clear. With us being a military town, this should happen sooner than later, because we have a lot of veterans that I know for sure that I get phone calls around holidays like the 4th of July, the end of the year, anytime that people are about to have celebrate with fireworks. You know, veterans call and say, you know, what can we do as a community or as a county to make sure that we're not lying in bed at 1 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning, and someone fires off a firework, and it just takes them back to a bad place. And so everyone that I have also talked to, they do not have a problem with us putting the ordinance in place. And they don't have a problem with people firing fireworks. They just have a problem with them doing it all willy-nilly during the week and all times of night. So I think this is very, very important for us to make sure that we make it happen and make it happen fast. Councilwoman Teresa?
I was just going to add, I think I know a lot of folks who would be appreciative of that, including a lot of the pet owners around us too. Yeah.
Councilwoman Barron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to add my name to this. And second of all, as a spouse of a disabled veteran and a dog that cannot stand it, I'm grateful for this. I do want to know what are our next steps for this from our legal department or staff or whomever's going to be making these modifications, because just like the previous item that we had before us, I'd like to see us move it sooner than later.
Well, honestly, I'm not sure what department it should be dealing with, but I know that I personally have kind of done some looking into it to see what the proper way to do it, and basically to see what we have already and what needs to be changed. So my department is looking into it. As far as the administrative department, that anything else will come from, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Councilwoman Barron?
Okay. All right. And we have been in contact with the Sheriff Department as well, and I know Chief Polis has said that he, is good with us actually making some changes as well. So the Sheriff's Department is on board with it.
So my question is, you will be making those modifications and presenting them back to this committee so it could go to full council?
Right. Well, generally, most things, unless it's a lawsuit, doesn't come from directly the legal department. It's either directly from a council member or a department, and we usually work through a department. So for fireworks specifically, unless we say the Sheriff's Department, but my office, would be the one basically taking the lead on it, I guess.
I'm just trying to make sure that
it moves forward.
This ordinance has a home to start with. So maybe Dr. Thompson, you are the ACA or the director here on deck. Could you help us give a home to it?
Let me say this before you speak, Dr. Thompson. I did submit some verbiage that came along with making sure that we had the correct bite for this ordinance, to make sure that we supported the Sheriff's Department and the liaisons to be able to do what they need to do. And there was already an ordinance on the book. So maybe we might need to go back and look at that verbiage and see if it's something that we can work with going forward.
Absolutely. Right. And I read what you submitted, and that's what I've been working with as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. And before, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Newton, you recognize.
Thank you. So was Ms. Barron's question answered in terms of well, it doesn't matter. I guess we're just directing staff to assign this to a department and come back to us. Okay, thank you.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to give kudos to staff for putting this information on where we are with certain things that's written in the blue. That helps us tremendously, and we don't have to ask those questions when we're going through the community work. So I want to thank you and your staff, Ms. Carrillo, and everyone else who had a part in this to make for making sure that we had that information prior to us asking those questions.
You're welcome.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
And properly moved and seconded for adjournment. Ms. Carrillo, can you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Teresia,
Yes?
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes?
Motion approved.